Coming up, we're in Katmai National Park in Alaska, living with giant coastal brown bears. In this episode, I break down some of the dangers that come with being here. Plane crashes, tsunamis, bear attacks. One of our team members and friends nearly drowns crossing a glacial-fed river.
Water crossings make you a little nervous.
And we go into full hypothermia prevention mode. I'm Casey Anderson. I've been all over the world in the tracks of wildlife, chasing adventure and stories of our untamed planet. From the mountains to the jungle, the opportunity for adventure is endless. When you're in remote Alaska, there are a handful of dangers, risks that you're going to be taking coming out here. That starts from the day that you get off the airplane in Kodiak and you get on this tiny airplane to come flying across in not so predictable weather. Let me just run down kind of a list of things. And I won't cover them all, but I'll try to hit some of the top risks that you will face when you come to a remote part like Katmai. I mean, just getting here is a risk in itself. And this is a small aircraft. Usually you're flying in things like beavers, otters, even little small Cessnas that will land right here on the beach. And anytime you're in unpredictable weather, like you find out here in Alaska, and small aircraft, it's always risky. Once you've landed here, you're pretty isolated. So something like a broken leg, have an allergic reaction to something, any of those things, you're gonna have to be able to take care of them. If the weather's bad, it could be days before any help is gonna come find you here. So having a pretty robust medical kit in your camp and knowing how to use it is pretty essential. You've got the ocean, you've got glacier-fed streams and rivers. You've got the chance of a tsunami. Big things like tsunamis and hurricane force storms have washed all of this debris about a mile away from the coastline. Leftovers of the Japanese tsunami coming all the way across the Pacific Ocean. This area is very active seismically. So, you've got volcanoes that are looking at us all day long. This place has earthquakes every single day in some part of Alaska. And when you're this close to the water, there are the potential for tsunamis. This is all stuff you got to consider out here. And then, of course, when you get here, they're the bears. Arguably some of the most quote-unquote friendly bears on the planet, but they're still animals that are capable of killing and eating people. Just over there, not maybe 3 miles away, a man and his girlfriend were killed and eaten by one of the brown bears that we will be interacting with. Not the exact brown bear, but the same type of bear. No matter how calm and cool these bears might be, they always have that potential. The number one way that I deal with any kind of bear interaction is just by using my brain and my knowledge and my experience interacting with bears, whether that's out in the wilds of Yellowstone, here in Alaska, Canada, or my experience with captive animals that I've worked with over the years, including Brutus, spending almost 20 years with him. Brutus was a bear that came into my life when I was in my early 20s. He was born in captivity at an overcrowded wildlife park and was going to be euthanized. I didn't want to let that happen, so I rescued him, started a grizzly bear sanctuary, and ended up spending 20 years with Brutus by my side. The combination of my extensive experience in the wilderness, observing and filming wild grizzly bears, and the unique insights into the life of a grizzly bear that my relationship with Brutus gave me, allows me to interact with these animals as safely as possible. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We're lucky to have resources like BetterHelp, and I'll say this straight. Don't be too proud to reach out. As men, we're taught to carry everything alone, to stay quiet, to be tough. But real strength is knowing when to talk and when to set that weight down. I lost my best friend. He wasn't a typical best friend, but he was mine. We spent 20 years together, and I loved him just the same. His death was sudden, and I wasn't ready for it. At first, I didn't know how to feel. I just kept it all inside. The sadness stayed with me, and the silence only made it heavier. For me, therapy takes different forms. Sometimes it's walking in the wilderness, letting the sky give me perspective. Other times it's sitting down with someone and unpacking what I've been carrying. Think of it like a heavy backpack. The straps dig in, the weight drags you down. Just setting it down, even for a little while, can change everything. Eventually, I realized I couldn't carry it alone anymore. Reaching out wasn't easy. Pride kept me quiet for a long time. But once I started talking, everything shifted. Each conversation felt like taking weight out of a heavy backpack that I was hauling around. I never stopped missing him. But because I opened up, that backpack isn't crushing me anymore. I can move through life with more lightness, more strength. And that's the gift that therapy gave me. That's what BetterHelp provides. Licensed therapists that you can connect with online, wherever you are. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch until it is. It's flexible and simple. Toughness isn't silence. Real toughness is reaching out. Start today with 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/endlessventure. Being able to read body language and really seeing the intent of the animal just within what it's giving you with its body language is crucial. Just hold still. Testy little guy. But you can find yourself in these kind of tight situations where you and a bear get too close to each other by chance, and what you do in those circumstances can really mitigate or heighten the response of that bear. Second layer of that is if something does happen and it does happen quick, you have your bear spray available, accessible. Bear spray is great. It's non-lethal. If a bear's being funny, coming too close, coming over to attack you, you can spray it in the face. It's gonna think that the world is ending. It's gonna run away, and in an hour, it'll be completely fine. Maybe even more importantly is learn a good lesson not to actually be aggressive towards people. And then lastly, and I do carry it in my backpack and sometimes on my person, is a firearm. And that's one of those things like I'll never have to use. If I do everything right, I should never have to use it. And most people should never have to use it. It's a 1 in a million chance that you have to use it. People use their firearm prematurely all the time. And that's just because they simply don't understand bear behavior. And they should be more prepared before they even come out here, or not even come out here at all. While we're in camp, there's things we do to make sure that bears aren't coming into camp. And the only reason why a bear really would want to come into camp is for a food source. We are surrounded by an electric fence. This is designed to keep bears out. Bears hate electricity. They're a super curious animal. They're going to walk around. They are always leading their way with their nose. And when they walk up to this, sniffing, wonder what's in there, bow, right on the tip of the nose, about 6,000 volts. It's just the same as like what they have around horse pasture. It just pulses, it's just enough to sting them on the nose. Their nose is super sensitive. It'll send them running away and know that this is not a place to come. Stay on that side of the fence. We're gonna stay on this side of the fence. Mind your own business. Everything we do out here, and I always say we live and die by the tide. Every bit of our movement really is dictated by the tide. The tide comes in here and it goes out a quarter mile during low tide and comes all the way up to where I'm sitting now during the highest tide. And it swells all the waterways that we have to cross every day. I think every time I've been out here, I've had a situation with the tide, maybe all but one time, where someone got really close to falling into the water because we were doing a river crossing when the tide had come in and the river was a little bit too swollen. And you just find yourself taking the river for granted, and if you do that and you're pushing your luck, it can kill you. When you're out in the wild, there's a fine line between those who live and those who die. And you can prepare yourself for everything, and we did when we came on this trip. You know, we talked about the risks that we might face out here. We talked about them for weeks. This is Mario Aldecoa. He's a wildlife cinematographer who joined us on this Alaska expedition. While we were out looking for bears one afternoon, we had a pretty intense situation arise when we were out crossing one of the rivers. This was probably the most dangerous situation that arose on this trip. And here's the story. And I think that there's moments out here that we may have butted up against a life and death situation, maybe never even knew it. And then we've had moments where we were fairly aware of how close we were to a life and death situation. And I just wanted to talk to you about one of those because you were the potential near victim.
Potential victim, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you run us through that day and what happened?
First of all, telling my family and friends I'm coming to Katmai to film bears and live amongst bears for 2 weeks. Their main concern are, of course, the bears. But thanks to you, and I believe all the preparations, we've been very bear safe, right?
Yeah.
I've felt a few times where, heart gets racing because the bear gets a little too close, or we get that mock charge, but we've handled that. The weather and the environment is what has posed the most problems so far. And in particular, the water crossings. You had prepared us, mentioned how waders, which is essential out here, right? You need a good pair of waders, right? You got your bear spray, your waders, and with the waders, we can navigate this environment that's usually saturated. You did mention to us that waders can be potentially dangerous in water crossings. I've had that in my mind since getting here. However, first few days, all the crossings have been easy. We are timing it perfectly with the tides. Current hasn't been that strong. But this one particular day, it all changed, right?
I have to admit, water crossings make me a little nervous because my waders suck. They're leaking. And when the current's strong, you can feel if you slip, you're just gonna be washed away. So actually, I always feel a little nervous when we cross these bigger expanses of water.
We decided to go to an area that we haven't gone yet and cross a creek that we haven't crossed yet, and seemingly cross it at the right time, right tide, right? Low tide. However, a few things were not in my favor that day and throughout this trip, and that's the waders. I have different waders than you and Riley. The waders don't ride up as high. They're very baggy. They've been leaking. So I've had issues with this piece of equipment that's vital. As we began to cross this glacial creek, and as we started to cross this, I started to get a little nervous, and I kept looking at you guys and seeing how the water level was rising. My instinct was to try and speed up. Like, all right, let's just get this over with. Speed up. And I got ahead of you and Riley. Started getting deeper, and then finally, I started to feel the trickles.
A little deeper.
The panic moment was when the water rushed in, fully. I wasn't expecting that, so my body just tensed up.
This is glacial-fed water. So this isn't like 50 degrees. I mean, cold plunges are like 50 degrees. This is like 34 degrees.
Sure.
34 degrees temperature, minutes in that water, and you are hypothermic, dangerously hypothermic.
I panicked and called for your name. I said, Casey! You grabbed me, and at that point I was just saturated, drenched.
The current was strong.
Yeah.
It was very strong. I mean, you're fighting against the current. There's no way you could have really walked upstream. It was strong enough that you couldn't. There's no way you could do that. And then as soon as the water gets in there, it becomes an anchor. In my search and rescue group, we've recovered people that have died just that exact way, or they've just in kind of a benign river. You would never think anything was up. And it's got a little too deep. Waders filled up, dragged them under. Strong swimmers, people that have been completely capable. But in that situation, you're helpless. It just drags you under, and if you're dragged under the water and you can't breathe, you drown.
When you grabbed me and we started to slowly make it to shore, just every footstep was like, okay, let's get it, next step, let's make it back. And when I finally made it to shore, I just kind of big relief. And yet, adrenaline pumping.
Everything's saturated.
What happened, Mario?
I got soaked. I hate crossings. I am now completely soaked.
One of the most dangerous things you can do out here in Alaska. It's not the bears. It's crossing these rivers with waders on.
Yeah, man. I panicked.
No, I'm glad we were right there together and that went down.
Cold wasn't really concerning me at that point. However, if I were to have stayed in that one spot, I know that coldness would have creeped in. But we couldn't stay in that spot, right? We had to keep going because the tide was only going to get higher.
Yeah, the tide was coming up. The water was only going to get deeper. And that crossing was an essential crossing for us because we had to get back to camp. And camp was, from that point, maybe a little over 2 miles away. Mm-hmm. We had crossed it successfully once already before. Mm-hmm. So we knew that the tide was coming up. If we could go back to the place that we had success the first time, our odds were good because we already did it once. So we followed our tracks back to that spot. We're second guessing ourselves a bit now. Mm-hmm. You're not 100% anymore.
No.
But now, unless we want to sit on the shore without a fire, without any shelter, for 12 hours, we need to cross the river. Mm-hmm. The very river that just almost killed you.
And at that point, I was thinking, I don't think I could spend the night here drenched like this. At that point, if I'm not moving, the body's not active, I'm going to get cold very fast. I really had to dive deep into me to be like, all right, Mario, just forget what just happened and just think of the present and let's try to cross.
We needed you to stay warm. We needed you to cross the river again. We were far away from camp. So I needed you to continue to fight, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I guess is one of those things. What I didn't do was give you a hug.
Yeah, no.
No, and I'm going to. Because you deserve one. But I didn't in the moment because I needed you to stay here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I said something stupid. Like I'll try to inject humor and say things that are silly.
Yeah.
Right? And try to keep spirits kind of in that realm. Because if you let it drop down, you'd be surprised how fast people stop thinking about taking care of themselves. And if you keep it light, and you keep people fighting, and you just don't ever give in, it keeps people moving. It keeps people thinking, keeps people laughing. And we were gonna go across the river, and I just remember, hey, we gotta go across this dang river. And I was kind of joking about it, even though it was a very serious situation. And I'm gonna be the crash test dummy here. I'll show you the maximum depth, and then you guys go together, okay?
What do you think?
I'll be fine. My waders are higher. I'll stay right behind you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about the camera.
Okay.
And
all right. If you could just stick close to me.
Yeah.
Is that good back here?
Yep. As good as it's gonna get.
All right.
Try to stay as upright as possible.
Yeah.
I think that's the deepest. Made it. Stressful?
Very stressful. I'm not gonna lie. That all became a mental thing there. Slipping. My hands are actually getting pretty cold.
Take those things off.
Yeah.
I think it's making it worse.
Yeah.
So we'll get you back and get you warm. I think moving at this point is going to keep you the warmest.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you start feeling like you're actually cold, let me know, like your body's cold. Put your hood on.
Actually, put that in my backpack.
What next steps are?
So our man Mario filled his waders in a river crossing, which really scary, very scary. Luckily, he recognized it, was able to turn back. I was there, able to grab onto him. We got him out of the river, but he's soaked. It's probably 48 degrees out here with a wind chill of, probably in the 30s. So the longer he stays cold and wet, the more chance that he actually has to go into hypothermia. It's very easy to go in hypothermia. He's got some wool under layers on it, keeping him warm. We kept moving. We had to end up crossing that river anyway, and crossed another river and 2 creeks, and then walked probably another 3 miles to get back to camp. We kept moving, kept checking on him, make sure his temperature was good. He seems like he's maintaining his body temperature pretty well. But now we're stopped, and his body temperature is just going to start going down fast. And hypothermia happens so quick, and it usually happens to those who don't think it's going to happen to them. We're back at the camp, everything's safe. It seems like we're out of the woods, but this is how you make bad mistakes. He could literally his temperature could get down to the point where he's not going to make good decisions for himself. So to supersede that, we're just going to get him we're going to take him through the protocol. We're going to get him out of his wet clothes, dry him up, put him in a sleep bag, let his body temperature get back up, dry, then he can put some nice warm clothes on, and we'll go from there. I think we kind of knew that. I mean, we made the right choice, obviously, in retrospect, and got you to warmth, and you're alive. You're here now.
Grateful, man. I certainly that night I just reflected. I was just glad to be inside of my cozy sleeping bag. Once again, that fine line. We now have a story, to tell. A lot of people don't have a story to tell. Someone else is telling their story because, well, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I know you take safety very seriously. I try to take safety very seriously as well, but that's the thing. It could happen to anyone. You're not immune to dangerous situations. Obviously, all worked out, very grateful.
While out on remote expeditions, there are so many different safety variables that you have to consider, depending on where you're going. Sometimes it's discussing how you're going to react to an aggressive tiger, or taking the proper precautions to ensure a safe campsite in bear country. Sometimes it's environmental conditions, like getting stuck on an open ridge in a lightning storm, or in this case, glacial-fed river crossings. These variables are what make places like this special, though. It's still wild, untamed. It's exciting. This was a good reminder to take all these things seriously. You never expect something bad like this to happen, but it's important to think about them, learn about them, and take the proper precautions to avoid a catastrophic situation. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode.